Good afternoon. Welcome to the Friendly Tech Hour. It is your son in tech, Mackenzie. Happy to be with you yet again. We've got a topic today you're going to love. As usual, we spend this time every week working with technology. The objective is the same to cut through the noise, help you understand how things work, to make it simpler for yourself, to make it more enjoyable so that you can understand what's going on just a little. You don't need to be an expert, but we don't want you to feel helpless, right? We want you to feel capable and confident and able to take care of things. And soon, you stick with us. You'll be able to fix all sorts of things. You'll be able to avoid those online headaches. And I would say, most importantly, you're not going to fall for any scams. That's so important. So, yesterday, just as a reminder, we talked about passwords and why they're both annoying. We admitted they are annoying, but they're extremely necessary, right? It's for your protection. And we also discussed how to protect yourself from password scammers, some of those tactics that they use. So, go to the channel, take a look on those, look at the recommendations. You'll find our other videos there, but especially yesterday about passwords, super, super important, guys. You guys really want to know that sort of stuff, especially about something we discussed called MFA, multi-factor authentication. Why that's so important. Don't let the name get in your head because it sounds confusing. It's not. It's something very straightforward. We talked it through together yesterday. Very, very simple. Today we're going to talk about something again I know you want the explanation for, and we're going to make it so easy. You're going to be really proud of yourself for how easily you'll be able to explain this after we're done. We're going to be talking about the difference between Wi-Fi and mobile or cellular data, depending on what terminology you're familiar with. So, first things first, just a reminder, the best part about this platform is you can tell me if you need me to slow down, if you need me to speed up, or if you have a question about something that we're talking about. You can always just put it in the chat. I try to keep my eyes on it at all times. So just put it there and I will answer in real time. Also, just a reminder, if you have any sort of technical problems that you're frustrated with, that you're trying to get some resolution on, don't feel like you have to figure it out on your own. I've got two things that can help you. Number one, go to our website. Check out our website, and there I've got all sorts of information for you. We have a private live stream that is just designed to answer specific questions. You can go to the website and register there for the private live stream. So, and it doesn't matter what sort of tech problem you're having, whether it's your Roku, any of your smart devices, your TV, your phone, your Fire Stick, it doesn't matter. You can ask those questions during our private live stream and we'll get you the answers. The other thing is that we have one-on-one sessions. I'm able to offer you one-on-one help. Again, just a reminder, I do have a full-time job. I do work in tech. I just do this during my lunch breaks, but I try to make time during the week and a little bit of time on the weekend to be able to provide you some help. One-on-one, if you've got something, that's going to take a bit of time for us to figure it out, head over to the website, take a look at what we have there and we'll be able to get a one-on-one session booked for you. We'll be able to resolve your problems in no time. So, just a reminder on those two things. All right, let's get down to business. Now, have you ever in your life received one of those, we'll call them unpleasant text messages? We don't want to call it scary, but the unpleasant one that says, "Oh, you have used 90% of your data," right? From your phone carrier, right? Or maybe you'll look at your home internet bill and you're like, well, didn't I already pay for internet with my phone bill? Why am I paying for two internets? That's the confusion that we're going to clear up today because mobile data and home internet that we often refer to as Wi-Fi, they're both going to get you online, but in different ways. That's our key that we want to remember. So, going back to our first day together, the first thing we talked about, and it's the basis for all of our conversations, right? It's that point that the internet is just like the highway, right? It's a fast road that you can travel on. And we know that it is designed to be driven on with your devices, right? Your phone, your TV, your uh, laptop. Sometimes your TV is the device that's on the internet. Sometimes you use it in another way. Um, tablets, laptops, all sorts of things connect you to the internet. It's just like your car getting on the highway, right? Um, but remember, just like when you're getting on the highway, you can't teleport from your house to right onto the highway, right? That you have to take a certain path to get there. And we call that path an on-ramp, right? If you want to get onto the highway, you see it illustrated there, you have to take that on-ramp to merge you onto the highway. And what does that when it comes to the internet from your home? Right? When it comes to your home internet, it's a router. We see a very basic illustration of one on our slide there. They're much more complicated. Maybe yours has 8, 16 antennas now, right? Or maybe it's just a box like this. Maybe it's upright. But that box, that router, you can also call it a Wi-Fi box if you want. That is your path on to the internet, your on-ramp. Now, for that box, we talked about it before, you have to pay the toll, right, to get onto this highway. So you pay your monthly bill to your internet provider. It could be Cox, it could be um, Google Fi, it could be Starlink. There's all sorts of different internet service providers that you pay that toll to every month to use their on-ramp to get onto the information superhighway, right? Now, once you've paid that bill, in most cases, you have unlimited access to the internet. They don't put a cap on the speed, they don't put a cap on the amount that you use. They just say this is what you get. It's, 500 megabit or whatever speed you pay for, and you've got as much as you want to use. Now, we talked yesterday about the importance of passwords to get on this box, to connect your device to this box. If you're not using that blue plug, right, to connect straight into your device, you have to use a password, right? You are required to have a password. Now, for your home internet, most of the time, if you just flip that box over, the password is right there. It's very easy to find. Maybe when someone set it up for you, they changed it. Just write it down somewhere. We talked yesterday about how you can manage all your passwords. We gave a lot of great tips, so I encourage you go back, watch that video, our Friendly Tech Hour number 4 on passwords, and that'll help you to keep in mind what the password is for your internet. So, something really important that you want to remember when it comes to your home internet. This is so key. It is unlimited in the sense that you can use it as much as you want. However, it is limited in this sense, in that it is limited to your home, right? We've got a nice picture there where you see those yellow lines in the picture. What you're seeing is the signal strength, right, of that Wi-Fi coming from the router. That's how strong that signal is. So you can see depicted there. It can reach the back porch, it can reach upstairs. Weak signal out to that camera in the garage. You see how far away it is, and we talked about in one of our first episodes how you can work through that. So go check our Friendly Tech Hour number 1, how you can make sure that your signal gets to every device that you need to connect it to at your home at your home. However, if you leave your home, that signal is not going to do you any good, right? Because it is totally attached to your home. That is so important to remember because as soon as you leave, you are no longer going to be connected, right? You have to be within the signal of your Wi-Fi. So that's just a basic version of what that looks like. They make these different things called heat maps. We don't need to get into those details. For now, just remember that when you leave your home Wi-Fi does not come with you, right? That on-ramp is not accessible once you're away from your home. That being said, that doesn't mean that you are without any access to the internet after you leave your home, right? It's really important to remember that. So, how do you access the internet once you have left home? Well, that is where the mobile data comes in, right? Or the cellular data connection. Those towers that you see, some of them look like what you see there in the picture. And that's pretty common, right? That they look like that, but sometimes they're disguised depending on how you live. Some of them will look like a pine tree, some of them will look like a cactus, right? Depending on where you live, but they're all cell phone towers. And They serve the exact same purpose as that little box that you have in your house. They serve as an on-ramp for you to get onto the internet wirelessly, right? So if you are trying to connect, it's the exact same process. You pay the internet service provider, which is your cell phone company. That could be Verizon, T-Mobile, Cricket, whoever you've got for your mobile phone service. You pay that company, they give you access to this on-ramp in the form of these towers, right? And then you're able to get mobile or cellular data. Now, that connection is good wherever there are towers, but you've probably had this experience where maybe you're going through a tunnel or maybe you're out kind of far away from civilization and there's not any towers, so your signal is really weak, right? That's just like when you're at home, if you're too far away from that router at your house, the exact same thing happens, right? You're no longer connected. So, with that being the case, you can always know your signal strength. It'll show you on the phone by how many bars you have. That really is just saying this is how close you are to one of these towers. Um, so, once you leave your house, if you want to remain connected to the internet, you will need a mobile data connection. That means you'll connect to one of these towers wirelessly. Now, you can probably already start to picture, all right, there might be some issues, some challenges here, and we're going to talk through some of those. But let's just do the comparison so that it's super clear, right? Your home Wi-Fi serves as your on-ramp at home, right? Maybe your setup looks like what you see in the picture there, right? The wires kind of all over the place. It doesn't matter. Just don't trip and fall. But that is the connection, right? You get on the internet wirelessly using your password in your device. You put it in and you're connected when you're at home. Once you leave home, you need that mobile data connection. You have to connect to the cell phone towers. That's the difference between these two. Now, there are some additional differences that you should be aware of, right? Why does it matter to you that they're different? Here's why. Number one, the cost structure. So for one, your home internet, as we discussed, is unlimited. You can use as much as you want at the monthly fee that they give you. So maybe it's $69 a month and you have unlimited internet up to 500 megabits per second, right? That's great. That's plenty for average people if you need really fast internet. Like, let's say, for example, you like to stream the movies that you watch in really high definition, 4K or 8K, like when you're on YouTube, maybe get gigabit, right? So multiple people can use it and have that same kind of speed. The difference with mobile or cellular internet is that they cap how much you can get at a certain speed. So you may have 5G, right? You may have that 5G wireless cellular connection, but they only give you so much, right? They measure so much. And then after you've used all that up, then they the same thing. So that's one big difference is the cost structure. So if you know, for example, you're not going to be away from home and using the internet a lot, you probably don't need the biggest plan that they offer when it comes to mobile data. You can kind of talk to them like, hey, I don't really use the internet when I'm away from home. I might just make some phone calls. I may just check a few things. Maybe I could get a lower rate and that'll save you some money. But if you know you're a traveler, if you're a person that's out and about a lot, especially if you're a person that does like outdoor activities, you probably want to have a bigger internet package from your mobile carrier. The second thing is the speed. Excuse me. Typically and almost invariably, home internet is going to be faster, right? Home internet is simply going to be faster and it's also usually more stable because remember, if you're out and about, your signal is jumping from tower to tower, right? As you move on the road physically, as you're actually driving your car, your signal moves from tower to tower. So, with that being said, the speed of the internet varies dramatically when you're using mobile or cellular data because your connection is constantly changing. Whereas at home, the speed is very consistent. So it's easier to watch a high quality movie. It's easier to have a high quality video chat when you're at home because the strength and speed of the signal is better. The third thing that makes this distinction between mobile and Wi-Fi so important is the reliability, right? Um, there can be things that could happen. For example, let's say a tree falls down and it knocks down maybe a power line, and that power line not only controls the electricity, it may have the internet connected to it as well. In that case, if you don't have mobile internet, you don't have internet. Or if, for example, for any reason there's a power outage, even if the internet is still functional, if there's no power going to your Wi-Fi box, to your router, well, unfortunately, you're not going to be able to connect to the internet. So having mobile data as a backup is really, really important. As an example, if you live in somewhere like Florida, where you know there's big storms, or maybe you live in the Midwest, where you know there's a potential for tornadoes in the summertime, or maybe you live in a place where there's earthquakes, right? If you live in a place where there is some sort of disaster, you want to have both kinds of internet. This is really, really important because sometimes even the cellular signal will go out, but you'll still be able to connect to mobile data because they're not the same thing. So something to keep in mind. There's different reliability depending on the scenario that you're facing, but it's always good to have some mobile data. So maybe you've experienced where, multiple people in your house, everyone's on their own device. Maybe you've got the grandkids over, they're all on a tablet, you're on a tablet, your kids are on a tablet, and you notice that the quality of what you're looking at is kind of low, right? That's very standard when you're on your home internet signal because everyone is sharing the exact same on ramp, right? So there's a little bit of traffic there in that situation. So when that happens, that's just one of those things. It's just the nature of the beast. You can get a faster connection. Sometimes that will help. They call that the broadband connection, right? So it's a little more, there's more space on the road, so to speak, for you to work with. So we've hit on some big points already. Number one, we've talked about how your home Wi-Fi is connected only to your home, how your mobile signal is connected by means of those towers, and now we understand why this is so relevant, right? The cost structure, the speed, but also the reliability. So maybe you've heard people talk about a hotspot, right? Possibly you've heard this term. This is something that is very, very common nowadays. A lot of people have, issues with their device, or maybe again in a power outage situation, a person say, "Oh, I'll just turn on my hotspot." What in the world are they talking about? Well, let's just take a second and talk that through because it's not anything complicated. It's actually quite simple. So, with your mobile data plan, most every phone nowadays has a feature called hotspot, which means, quite simply, your phone can serve as an on-ramp for other devices, right? So in the same way that your home internet, right? You can connect multiple devices, your TV, your computer, your phone, all these things can be connected to your home internet box. You can turn your phone into the exact same thing by engaging the hotspot feature. It's very, very simple. It's just sharing that connection. So essentially, your phone becomes a repeater for that cell phone tower. That's why that illustration is what it is. It's both capturing the signal from the tower, but then it repeats it so other devices can connect. Now, again, this is a very, very important feature if you live somewhere where it's prone to natural disasters or you're prone to big storms, anything like that. So, if you live in the Midwest, if you live in a place where you get consistent blizzards in the winter and it pulls down the power lines, right? Again, if you're in Florida or somewhere along the Atlantic coast and you have to deal with hurricanes, this is a very useful technology to have because it allows you to remain connected even if there's no power and even if there's no internet. You can connect to the local cell phone towers because they have their own electricity source, right? And so they're going to continue to put out that internet signal for your phone to connect to, but then you can use that for other people or other devices that you have. This is so, so useful. We won't get into the details of, exactly how to do it because I've gotten some feedback. I've heard that people like the videos to be a little shorter. So we won't get into too much detail with that today. But just keep in mind, if you have questions about how to do it, you know exactly where to go. Go to our website, either join for one of our private streams, and you can type in the question in the chat, or you can set up a one-on-one session and I can walk you through exactly how to set up all of your devices to connect to your phone as a hotspot. It shouldn't take us very long at all, but it's very helpful and useful. So perhaps you've been somewhere. Most every Walmart, I believe, a lot of the Costco's, pretty much every Starbucks, most of the places that you go when you leave home will say that they have Wi-Fi, right? That they have a wireless internet signal. Now, how is that possible? How is it possible that they could have Wi-Fi, but you're not at home? Well, that's because it's not complicated. Again, very simple. Some restaurants and stores and public buildings, right, they have routers, right? So that means when you're at any of those stores, if they say, hey, we have free Wi-Fi, it's just like what you have at home. They've got a box or a series of boxes throughout their facility that allows you connect to their internet at no cost to you. You just get the password from them. In some cases, it doesn't even require a password, which is always really nice. So even though they're using the same terminology, and again, this is where a lot of times we get tripped up, is that terminology, they're calling it Wi-Fi, but it's not the same as the Wi-Fi at your house, right? It is a wireless internet connection, but you have to connect to it intentionally. We'll go over a little bit how to actually do that, but don't let that terminology throw you off. Yes, it's Wi-Fi. Yes, it works the exact same way. You just, it's your on-ramp to the internet, but it's not the same as your home signal. So really, really important. I've had a lot of questions about that with people in my personal life. So I want to make sure that you guys understand it as well. So you may be wondering, okay, is it reasonable if I'm at home to use my mobile data? I say no. I say no, right? So if you're at home and you have a Wi-Fi signal at your house, you've got your router at home, make sure that your phone or your tablet or whatever the case, make sure that it's connected to the Wi-Fi, right? Look for the Wi-Fi symbol across the top. In fact, let's just take a look at it. Let's just take a quick peek real quick so you can see what it is. Let me get myself out of the way. I'm not important for this part. Um, so if you've got on the right, or excuse me, on the left there, you can see the iPhone. Look at the very top up there. You see that up there? That little signal? That's a signal that you're on a wireless connection, right? Another way to know that you're on a wireless connection is that blue check mark. When you go to you see this is the settings menu, you've clicked on Wi-Fi, and you see how it shows you that blue check mark. Those two things, the blue check mark and then that symbol at the top right of the screen, that's your cue that you are on Wi-Fi. So this is super important when you're at home because otherwise, remember, there's a cap on your mobile data. You can run out. And so there's no point to use it when you're at home. That's why we even wanted to review this. Um, so that's how it looks on the left for an iPhone. On the right, we see an Android setup. I believe this is Android 13 or 14. I think it's up to 15 now. But this is essentially how it'll look in most cases. You go to the settings menu, you see right here, network and internet. And then if you're connected, the exact same principle applies. You see the little symbol right there, and then look at the top right, the exact same thing, right? That same little symbol that indicates you're on Wi-Fi on the iPhone, it's right here on Android. This is really, really important, guys. It's very easy to miss this point and to waste a lot of your data. I know I've done it many times. So for me, just as a routine, I leave that Wi-Fi always on. I never turn it off, meaning on my device, I never like personally switch to cellular, right? I never like actually, let's go back. Let's just look at that. You see how that green uh is checked, quote unquote? It's green instead of white on the iPhone side, and then on the Android side, we see how it's got the internet, the Wi-Fi is available. That is super important. I never turn that off because there's situations where you'll just use up all of your mobile or cellular data, right? And you don't want to do that. You're already paying for two, you don't want to waste it. You've got unlimited at home, so you want to remain connected to your Wi-Fi while you're at home. Now, there's another key that we want to think about because those are just phones, right? And the same applies when you have a tablet. If you've got an iPad, it's going to look just like what we see here, right? The iPad's going to, it's a different size device, but it's going to look the same. If you have a tablet that is Android based, exact same things apply, right? That's universal regardless of which one of those two that you use. However, if you are on a computer, it's a totally different thing. So we want to take a second and just have a look at that. Really, really important. So let's just take 1 second and look at how it would look on a computer. So you see right there that exact same signal, right? The symbol rather. That is pointed out for you in red. That exact symbol is what you want to see on your computer. At the very bottom right, you'll see that Wi-Fi signal that's there for you to let you know, hey, you are connected. If it's not there, if it looks like a little globe, right, like a little circle instead of that Wi-Fi symbol, then that is your cue that you are not connected to the internet at all, and that you need to go into your settings, find the Wi-Fi that you want to connect to, put the password in, and hit connect. Really, really important. This is a common mistake that I would say many people make. Uh, it it's not something that's limited to it's not something that's limited, I guess you could say, to just people that aren't super familiar with technology. I think most everyone I know has made that exact mistake where they have been at home and they've not been connected. They connect to the unintentionally, totally unintentionally, they connect to the mobile data, or maybe they've got their hotspot on instead of being connected to the Wi-Fi, and they just blow through their whole data. And that you don't want to do that. You want to save your money. You want to make sure that you're not wasting your money. And so always double check, just for your own benefit. Double check that you are on the Wi-Fi each and every time. Each and every time, no exceptions. And it might take a second, but it's worth it. I assure you that it is worth it to take that time. So we have covered a lot, but we did it in a little bit of time. If you feel any sort of confusion, don't worry. I'm going to make it really simple for you right now. You can actually, if you are thinking about reviewing this video, before you do that, stop. It's very simple. We had that slide that helped us, right? At the end of the day, there's just two on-ramps, right? There's routers and there's towers, right? Routers and towers. Routers are going to be what you use when you're at a building, right? If you're at home or if you're at a public building, the grocery store, or any place like that, you're going to connect to Wi-Fi using a router. You find the name, you type in the password, you hit connect. If you are away from home, you rely on the towers. The towers will connect you to the internet without the use of a router. That is mobile or cellular data. I told you, it's so simple, right? Knowing that difference, though, can save you a lot of money and also free you from a lot of frustrations. So we've covered a great deal today, but we're done. Nice, short, and sweet. So again, just a reminder, we'll be back next week on Tuesday. Be sure to check our YouTube for the schedule of what we'll have next week. I don't even want to spoil it. I want you to go and actually, I'll spoil one thing. We're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about social media. We may have it split into 2 or 3 different days, actually, because there's a lot to talk about when it comes to social media. Of course, safety, but also how we kind of tie what we've already discussed together and how it plays into social media. So be sure to check for that. And then we've got some other really fun topics that I'm looking forward to. Thank you guys so much for joining the stream today. I appreciate the support. If you know someone that could benefit from this sort of content, please share it with them if you haven't already. please hit like on the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Really appreciate the support. We will see you on getfriendly.help to get your one-on-one sessions and to join the premium stream. And until next time, stay sharp, and we are going to keep closing that digital divide. Have a good weekend, and we'll see you next time.